all today, right here on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you, as is our good guy, Joe Lisi. Lisi, always great to break down an NFL slate, but this is as busy as it gets. The playoff field is set, and the teams who did not make the postseason have made some big decisions, firing a number of NFL head coaches.
Yeah, week 18, Kev, was riveting. We saw it go right down to the wire with that Sunday night game. Pittsburgh's in, Baltimore's out, but a number of head coaches that disappointed this year and didn't lead and live up to expectations are gone. And I have to be honest, about 80% of them I agree with.
The playoff field we will expand on throughout our show, not just how we got here with the Sunday seeding that was up for grabs, Seattle positioned as your Super Bowl favorite, Denver the favorite in the AFC. Within the Super Bowl market, it's the Los Angeles Rams sandwiched in between the two teams that are on bye. So we will expand on all of this, but we want to begin with the news. Who's out, who's not? I want to start with the coach, Joe, who you was called for the job quite a few times, and he ended up getting another victory on Sunday. Seemingly, though, the Falcons had made their minds up on Raheem Morris a while ago, as Atlanta moves on, not just for Morris, but their general manager as well. A team that started 4-9 and had been eliminated for quite some time closed the season with 4 consecutive victories, and their win, by the way, kept the Tampa Bay Bucks away from repeating as division champions once again. Your reaction to the Falcons moving on from Morris?
A great decision. Again, too little, too late. When we talk about the Falcons' success and momentum down the stretch, I understand they were playing their best football at the end of the regular season with Kirk Cousins, but that was too late. By that point, they were already eliminated. There was no pressure on this team to make a playoff run, and that's why maybe they lived up to expectations under Raheem Morris in the second half of the season. But I told you time and time again, this team looks the same with Raheem Morris at the helm for the previous 2 seasons as it did with Arthur Smith, the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator. They have the talent. They just couldn't take it to a division title and, more importantly, a wild card or playoff appearance. And at the end of the day, you know, that's what matters. Wins matter in the NFL. And again, I never thought Raheem Morris was the coach to really elevate this team. Let's not forget, they were talking to Bill Belichick. They went from a coach that had won 6 Super Bowls to Raheem Morris, and they didn't have a playoff appearance in back-to-back seasons. It's absolutely pathetic. And then on top of that, with Fontenot, the decision to take Michael Penix when they already obviously signed Kirk Cousins, that'll never go down in history.
Yeah, I think that decision is a real turning point for a franchise who otherwise there's a lot to like on the roster. I know people have hated their decision to trade up into the first round and grab James Pierce Jr. He was worthy of a top 10 selection on talent. We thought on draft night, character concerns is what people used to justify his fall. He had a 10.5 sack season. And people think Jalen Walker is still the better of the 2 players. So you feel good about that draft. You feel great about Bijan. You feel great about Pitts now. Drake London, but it's a messy quarterback room. Cousins has never had his footing in Atlanta because of the Michael Penix draft. And Michael Penix, once again, with a knee injury. So it's hard to feel good about that. And I think they know with that uncertainty, perhaps a fresh coat of paint as far as a leader goes. It is interesting because I think almost some of the winning did Raheem Morris and Joe. I think the way they stacked victories, the talent was on display, and people in that building were like, this is ridiculous. We should not be sat here, you know, winning 4 in a row to end the season and then ending up as an 8-win football team. We should have found ways earlier in the season with winnable games. They had a stretch where they had lost back-to-back overtime games and another game by a single point. So it's a very interesting setup for Atlanta. How about a decision, Joe, that we started to hear about as Week 18 approached, which is the Cleveland Browns, moving on from multiple-time Coach of the Year Kevin Stefanski, despite this team winning 2 in a row to close out the regular season. Are you surprised the Browns moved on from Stefanski?
No, I'm not. And we talked about it as well in the pregame. We talked about Kevin Stefanski living up to expectations or over-exceeding when when he's not supposed to, but that was after a down year, right? Like this year, if he were to overexceed expectations, in 2026, he would be mentioned as a coach of the year candidate. And I understand he did it with Joe Flacco. He did it in the early part of his tenure in Cleveland. But again, where was the offensive identity with this team? He couldn't do it with Deshaun Watson, a quarterback that they paid, $281 million for guaranteed, and couldn't elevate that offense. It wasn't until Deshaun Watson was out that he opened up the offensive attack with Joe Flacco. And then the situation with Dylan Gabriel and obviously Shedeur Sanders. They do have offensive talent, young running backs like Dylan Sampson, Raheem Sanders, and obviously Quinshon Judkins. But again, there was no offensive continuity or identity for this offense. They couldn't get the football either to their wideouts and star number one, Jerry Jeudy. I mean, that alone should just have Kevin Stefanski fired.
See, I disagree because you just said star number one, Jerry Jeudy. He's not a star number one. The offense had no talent. The offensive line is full of guys that used to be good. They're not anymore. And the quarterback setup here, anytime it looks like, hey, we think we like the quarterback in Cleveland, they win games. They go to the playoffs. They went to the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. They went to the playoffs with Joe Flacco. I don't think it's Stefanski's fault that the Deshaun Watson situation was the worst move you'll probably ever see a franchise make in league history. And I certainly don't think it's Kevin Stefanski's fault that they didn't win games with the combination of Flacco, Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders this year. This group was going to be set up, and still somewhat is, to draft quarterback this year. Maybe there's a guy on the market in the trade capacity that Stefanski could get behind and agree with. You don't listen. Sometimes being a multiple-time coach of the year is a little ridiculous because it means you have major down seasons with good seasons. But Stefanski, Joe, we know is going to be one of the. He's getting a job this cycle. Not a doubt in anybody's mind. The Cleveland Browns, I actually think, built a little momentum this year. We know they had a good draft class. I've seen Stefanski put good offenses out there. Why are we surprised they didn't put one out there? No one's surprised they didn't put one out there this year. So is Stefanski being fired because they're handing the keys of the organization over to Shedeur Sanders and nobody trusts that relationship? That can't be the case.
No. But again, did Shedeur earn the job? I mean, based off the play where they got wins and still pulled it out, you would still give the credit to the quarterback in that type of situation. But it goes back to, Kevin, when we talk about the Deshaun Watson situation, he was one of the top 10 quarterbacks when they signed him and got him from Houston. He didn't have one 300-yard performance in a Cleveland Browns uniform. The offensive attack was very conservative with Kevin Stefanski, and he failed to open it up. He felt more comfortable with Joe Flacco opening up the offense than with Deshaun Watson, their franchise quarterback. He played not to lose when Deshaun Watson was at the helm, and you can't understand why. And I think you look at that, and then you look at the situation here. All right, granted, you want to say Jerry Jeudy is not an elite number one wide receiver. Okay, I'll buy into that. But what about stretching defenses vertically down the field? Are they a ground and pound team, or are they a team that wants to obviously take shots deep? You don't know with Kevin Stefanski. What is the offensive identity in Cleveland? I think he'll be a top candidate. I think he's a great candidate for the New York Giants, but not the Cleveland Browns. He's wore out his welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to say he's wore out his welcome. If you want to make the argument, maybe in-house, some of the blame for Stefanski or for Deshaun Watson not working out falls on Stefanski. I think that's interesting. I don't know if I would agree, though, because, again, I've seen Stefanski be able to put teams in positions to score the football with other quarterbacks that are not Watson. I think most of us would agree that was a Watson issue more than it is a Stefanski issue. And we have seen the Cleveland Browns be rudderless. So to move on from a guy that's been able to get you into multiple postseason berths, win a playoff game, I cannot get behind that decision. Some other big decisions were made by the Vegas Raiders, the Arizona Cardinals, and, of course, we had big games to break down. That is all still to come right here. It's SportsGrid. It's Kevin Walsh, and it's Joe Lisi with you on Pro Football Today. We'll be right back after this quick break.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, look at he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there.
Hence the
I
speculation.
don't know
Where's
why
he gonna go?
stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box, but I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry. The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Week 18, the Sunday night football game between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens provided us the game of the year. That is not, to me, something that we need to debate. There were a number of great games, especially down the stretch. Rams, Seahawks, Niners against the Chicago Bears. They were fun, really fun early season games. Still, the matchup between the Ravens and the Bills in week number 1 held out. But the stakes, the shock of missed kick after missed kick, Boswell on the extra point, first time since 2023, and then loop on the would-be winning field goal, sending Baltimore to the postseason, was incredible. And it's something that you can appreciate, I think, fully, unless you are someone who had a Ravens bet, money line, Ravens fan, Ravens Super Bowl futures. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who fit that final description because, as I said a number of times heading into this game, the opportunity was there. The opportunity was suggested to be likely, based on the odds, that the Super Bowl favorite from the preseason was going to crash this party. They were going to beat the in-season odds and get themselves in the dance. And they'd have been booked as round number 1 favorites. And instead, they didn't get it done. They defensively fell apart the second Kyle Hamilton left this game, and they just weren't buttoned up, which is how their season really played out for all 18 weeks, 17 games here, Joe. How shocked, and I kind of know the answer, were you that the Baltimore Ravens lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers to end the regular season?
I wasn't. We talked about it again. On the pregame, I thought the Steelers would win, and we both liked the over in the matchup. The way it actually played out was a little bit interesting, and you can't fault the stars for the Baltimore Ravens. Derrick Henry with a $126 on the ground. Lamar did throw for over 203 touchdowns, but at the end of the day, we talked about the weakness throughout the regular season. As much as maybe you fell in love with the offense when Lamar was under center, the defense had major concerns. They were abused early and often. And I think it started early in the season when they lost at home to the Detroit Lions. And we talked about how that defense was vulnerable, not just in the regular season, but if they were able to walk into the playoffs or sneak in, they potentially were a one-and-done team. And they showcased that last night. At the end of the day, this was an offense in Pittsburgh that did stall last week against Cleveland. And Aaron Rodgers and that team made enough adjustments. They were able to run it when they had to, and they found enough mojo to put the pressure on Lamar in the end. He put him in a position, but, the kicker, you can't rely on a kicker. I'll just say that. I understand it came down to a field goal and they weren't in a position. But if you're the Super Bowl favorites at the start of the year with an MVP quarterback, you take that fight to Pittsburgh on the road, and that's something the Ravens couldn't do.
Well, I think for Baltimore, Joe, something that I struggled with figuring out is if this team got in, would they go on a run? And in game, I finally, and I know it took me forever, got the clarity that you had felt the whole way. Even if the Ravens won this football game, they were not going to the Super Bowl. Maybe they would have beat the Texans. They wouldn't have beat, round 2 if it was the Broncos. It was going to fall short again. And for a number of reasons. Sometimes Lamar just doesn't have it. Sometimes they turn the ball over in insane ways. Sometimes their defense looks awful. Sometimes their coach looks lost. But when all of these things are on the board, it's too hard to hold off all of them. And in this game, you kind of got all of them, right? You got turnovers. You got the defense looking really, really bad. Lamar Jackson, in between basically touchdown passes, was non-existent in this football game. From touchdown pass 1 to touchdown pass 2, the middle of it, there was nothing going on here. We had talked pre-show about how Pittsburgh was going to sell out to stop Henry. They were daring a multiple-time MVP to beat him, and eventually he started to get some things going, but you saw why. And even the decision late in game, 14 seconds left, you can get closer. And instead they lost 2 yards. You had a timeout ready and available. That is a mistake. Oh, what if Derrick Henry fumbles? Okay, sure. Well, what if he misses the kick? And he missed the kick. And I think this is a Ravens group who has a long, hard look this offseason. Whether that's Lamar wanting out, Harbaugh getting fired, it feels like drastic changes are coming to the Ravens. Joe, on the Pittsburgh Steelers side, they found a way. What is fascinating, and this team is it's a perfect Joe Lisi team in that it's a team that drives him crazy. When they spin it and rip it, they're fun. Rodgers looks good, but they just don't like doing it. Collinsworth is on the broadcast begging them, go hurry up, go, and they just won't do it. Collinsworth clearly knows them better than they know themselves. Pittsburgh, Joe, maybe they'll beat Houston, but the Steelers are, as always, not really a threat, and I don't think that's unfair. Credit for the win, they're not a threat.
No, again, we'll see if their offensive identity changes in the playoffs. Let's not forget last year in the playoff loss, Russell Wilson basically threw for 175 yards in that loss, and they couldn't stretch the defense over the top. Is that going to be the same for Arthur Smith? He has alligator arms when the game is on the line in big matchups. Same type of play calling when he was the head coach at Atlanta. So again, we'll see if maybe Aaron Rodgers has more of an input on this offense in a playoff type of situation, or just overtakes the play calling duties and really just pushes Arthur Smith away. But to your point about Baltimore, you can't have 4 carries for 9 yards in Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry. With all the chips in the middle of the table, I understand he threw for 238, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. I get that, Derrick Henry, you feed the beast. I get all that. But again, if you're 85% healthy, 90% healthy, and you're under center with a chance to go to the playoffs, you take the game over. Do it somehow. If you can't do it with your arm early, you do it with your legs, and he failed to do that. You go back to last year's playoff run, Lamar Jackson was running down the second half part of the season. He failed to do that. I understand he's a little bit banged up, but guess what? Now you have 6 months to heal up because they're not playing in a playoff game. You have to make the determination, and I think that's on Lamar.
For me, though, Joe, I don't think he was healthy enough to run. I understand that
He was moving around pretty good in the pocket, Kev. He was moving around pretty good in the pocket.
Yeah, but that's not enough. But the thing is, we agree that's not enough, right? Pocket movement is different from him ripping off 35-yard runs, making guys miss. And I don't think he had that juice available. This game, locked in the playoff field. How else did we get there? We'll talk about it on the other side.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, look at he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there. Like,
hence the
you know, I don't know
Where's
why
he
he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, you know, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry? The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Pro football today, the bracket is set. The AFC and NFC's playoff pictures. And, Joe, the favorites largely handled business yesterday, except for a pretty unpredictable double-up that left things untouched. The Lions went into Chicago and won as a field goal and a half underdog, which set Philadelphia to be the league's number 2 seed in the NFC. They just had to beat the Washington Commanders, and they did not do that. They played backups, and that's what people are talking about, is that they played backups, and that's why they lost the game. That is not why they lost that game. Because I don't know if you'll talk again after I go on this. What was your thoughts, if any, Joe, on both Philadelphia and Chicago losing on Sunday?
Well, again, Chicago... You sort of knew that that was going to be a game. And when we broke it down, we said, hey, Dan Campbell and the team, or at least the head coach, is motivated to win that. And he was going to evaluate his players and see how they played in a meaningless, regular season game to end the season. And they stepped up. They stepped up offensively, ran the football with Jahmyr Gibbs. They made enough plays in the passing attack with St. Brown and Jared Goff to pull off the victory. Did have basically a 16-0 lead before Chicago tied it up, but at the end of the day, they were up and motivated, and that's what you would expect from Dan Campbell. When you look at Philadelphia, again, we've seen this team walk through the motions, even with backups, in a game that they should have dominated. And this was a gutless offense led by Josh Johnson, and Tank Bigsby did score yesterday, but this is an offense in Philadelphia that should have ran all over a front seven that was getting abused throughout the regular season in run support. And again, when you look at the body of work, to only put up 307 total yards on a pathetic Washington defense, I think that's a testament to the play calling, and it's a testament to just what is the offensive identity for Philadelphia. Does that change my assessment of Philly in a playoff type of situation or scenario? No, but you still want to see Sirianni and the backup step up in a home game against a divisional opponent and take care of business.
Yeah, awesome, cool. So the Philadelphia Eagles have the worst offensive coaching staff in football, and that is the entire reason that they lost this game. What you have is a clueless bunch who have put that on display throughout the entirety of this NFL season. And the only way that you could kind of soften the blow here is if this group went out there to actually put on full display, leave no doubt in anybody's mind, that they are the problem and not Jalen Hurts. The Philadelphia Eagles scored a touchdown drive on drive number 2, but they also were elevated by Devonta Smith being around. Tanner McKee's numbers after Devonta Smith left the game, he completed 50% of his passes for less than 200 yards, a touchdown and an interception, 5.3 yards per attempt. And yet, the Philadelphia Eagles got inside the 15-yard line after that touchdown drive and threw 4 straight passes, including on 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2. They got an interception of Josh Johnson. Jalen Hunt's a baller. They proceeded to throw 4 straight passes that eventually led to the interception. The touchdown drive that they put together, which ended in Tanks Bigsby, was 5 consecutive runs. The Washington Commanders could not stop the run, especially Tank Bigsby. So, of course, the field goal drive when they got inside the 25, they only ran it one time, and it was to Will Shipley. The Eagles even got the football back in a game tied where the Commanders had lost all of their timeouts under 10 minutes to go and went pass, 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 punt. It is a coaching staff. I don't care, and I mean this. If they win the Super Bowl again, I'd fire everyone associated with the offense. Fangio's incredible. Patullo is lost, and Sirianni isn't far behind him. And the Philadelphia Eagles being the number 2 seed is incredibly valuable for a group and a core who has never lost a home playoff game. It's not about playing San Francisco or Green Bay. It's about being guaranteed multiple home playoff games and the Seahawks being upset away from the NFC playoffs going through Philadelphia. But despite having a clear advantage on the run game, they just kept throwing it with Tanner McKee. Maybe in an attempt to show that none of this is their fault, and it's actually the quarterback, and instead did the opposite and prove all season what's been obvious. What holds the Eagles' offense back is that coaching staff. They can pin it on the Super Bowl MVP all they want. It's a miracle Jalen Hurts wins at the rate he does with Patullo and Sirianni at the helm. We will be back after this break, and I will leave it at that. Thank you all. Pro Football Today here on SportsGrid.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, look at he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there. Like, I don't know why he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like, a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry? The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today, back with you right here on SportsGrid. The playoff field is set. And again, just from a drama perspective, really it was the 2-3 battle within the NFC as the Rams handled their business and won. The 7-6 in the NFC were set. Prior, you did have whether the Falcons would win or not. The Panthers get in despite losing their Saturday game. In the AFC, Joe, the number 1 seed was up for grabs. Jacksonville, despite a 7-0 deficit to start, Cam Ward exits early, and the Jags score the next 41 points in that football game. The Patriots were kind of playing a close one with the Dolphins, and it just then snowballed, and it was 38-10. In true Denver fashion, they played the closest game of the bunch, the least impressive game of the bunch, and yet that all still led to the Denver Broncos clinching the number 1 seed in the AFC, 19-3. Did any of those 3 performances, Denver, Jacksonville, and maybe you could even throw the Texans in there, they did almost lose, but did any of that, the Patriots jump off the page to you?
Well, the Jacksonville game, and the reason why is I just believe that offense with Trevor Lawrence is playing at an elite level, and it's obvious that Liam Cohen now has a really good pulse on the playmakers and what this offense is, right? I mean, again, we've seen another 30-plus performance out of this offense, and Trevor Lawrence being able to hit the deep ball, he's running when he has to, and that defense is starting to bounce into form. It's not elite. I'm not going to put it, obviously, with Houston or some of the other defenses like Denver in the conference, but it's good enough to win football games. And when you have Trevor Lawrence in this offense confident, I think that's the first step to potentially making an AFC championship run. I think when you look at all the odds and you look at all the teams, yeah, New England's intriguing, and obviously Denver with the number 1 seed, but Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, if you're promising me that if he could play like that, like the way he's played over the last month and a half of the regular season, I'm going to buy into Jacksonville as being a sneaky team to steal a championship.
Yeah, I think this is all, look, the AFC is open. We've talked about it being, open across the board. And I think some of that is also just informed by Denver looking how they did again. You go through the Denver Broncos resume and what's the game where you feel best about? What's the game where like this is the team that I'm backing the whole way? I think people would point to the Green Bay game where Bo Nix threw for 300 yards and 4 passing touchdowns. They also trailed by 9 in that football game, and that was a game where the injuries just started to mount up on Green Bay. So I think that kind of, again, makes everything open. At the top of the league, an AFC West team. At the bottom, an AFC West team. The Las Vegas Raiders, despite beating the Kansas City Chiefs, clinched the number 1 seed thanks to another New York Giants victory. You gotta respect the Giants' ability to win when it matters least. I was not surprised, Joe, to see the Raiders beat the Chiefs, especially when it was confirmed it would not cost the Raiders anything. As, again, Ola Duncan, awful. Buscelli, not much better. The Chiefs were putting out just a horrendous product the second Mahomes got injured. They weren't putting out a very good product when Mahomes was in there, all in all. But the Raiders secure the number 1 seed, as well as announced today that they are firing Pete Carroll. What's your assessment right now on the future, Joe, for this Las Vegas Raiders franchise?
You needed a head coach that could be an offensive mind, and it wasn't Pete Carroll. And I loved Pete during his tenure at Seattle. I actually thought he should have won Coach of the Year over Brian Dable, overexceeded expectations when Russ moved on to Denver. But again, he's lost his fastball. Let's be honest. I mean, the rah-rah stuff for Pete Carroll at 70-plus years of age can only go so far. I mean, this team has not been disciplined this year. He fired Chip Kelly mid-season. Chip Kelly and that offense looked inept early on. Geno Smith wasn't the answer to be the franchise guy. That was his call. He took him from Seattle. And again, look at this team. Outside of Brock Bowers and Gentry, what do they have offensively? They have no offensive talent. defensively, outside of Max Crosby, they don't have star talent. So again, this is a major rebuild, and you have to start getting an offensive-minded head coach that could challenge the likes of Jim Harbaugh and Sean Payton. And if you want to call Andy Reid still an elite head coach, I think Andy's another one that has gotten very conservative in his older years. And again, that's what you're up against. So you want to hire another defensive-minded coach like Antonio Pierce, good luck, but it's not going to get you very far.
What's so interesting for Vegas is with Pete Carroll gone, you would think that should slam the door on Geno Smith. But I also, if I were the Vegas Raiders, Joe, as you kind of said, we're going nowhere. Next season, if I have this correct, if they were to get rid of him, it would be over $18 million in dead cap. The season prior, there would be none. The element for this for me on the Las Vegas Raiders is they are, Joe, you just said it. They are so far away. I think they should be open to the notion of trading that first overall pick and seeing if we can show the draft order. Do the New York Jets covet Fernando Mendoza or Dante Moore? What about Arizona? What about Cleveland? And I know people will think that they're, locked in. What about the New Orleans Saints? Are we sure if they had an opportunity to draft first overall? And I'll throw another one out there, and I know it would cost a lot. But what if the Rams are looking to build a succession plan behind Matthew Stafford, who have multiple first-round draft picks? Joe, I'm just saying, if we can agree the Raiders are far away,
right,
are we sure they should be drafting a quarterback in year number 8, heading into this situation? I just think it's a conversation.
It's fine that you want to have the conversation, and I understand why, Kev. But the Raiders for years have been known, going back to the Al Davis days, the late Al Davis, right? Mark's dad, forgetting older talent at the end of their careers. That's what Jerry Rice, Rich Gannon. Now, Rich Gannon was the only one to have success with John Gruden and take them to the promised land and a Super Bowl appearance. But outside of that, they haven't come close. Their closest time that they sniffed the playoffs or a win was when they beat or challenged Joe Burrow with Ralph Bisaccia as head coach. And that was with Derek Carr. Look, what are we doing here? You want to get another journeyman or utilize Geno Smith? And then what are you going to do? You're going to ship Max Crosby out? You're going to have no talent outside of Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty, and then you're going to waste another year with them?
Hold on. Can I just push back on this notion, Joe?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on, because you say waste another year. Joe,
yeah,
there's nothing they could do this offseason for you to think they're not going to waste next season.
Yeah, but you could build continuity with a franchise quarterback, Kev. If you get Fernando Mendoza
how'd
that
work out for the Titans and Cam Ward? Do you feel that they built continuity this year?
No, but they're a garbage organization as well. We knew where Cam Ward goes. No, but let's be honest. Outside of Cam Ward, were they going anywhere? Where is the pure number one talent? We talked about this with a multitude of quarterbacks when we talk about progression. You could make the argument that Jalen Hurts was in a similar situation with Doug Peterson until they got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, and then you saw the progression. You can't evaluate a starting quarterback with garbage wide receivers and have your tight end be your best guy and a middle-of-the-road fantasy guys that can't stretch defenses over the top. Come on, Trey Tucker, Thornton, these are guys that you want on your offense to develop a young quarterback? Where's the job? I keep going. Look at every elite team that is in the league right now. They have a pure number one and a pure number two. The Raiders have nothing outside of Brock Bowers.
No, but see, I think Bowers is a pure number one. I worry about their offensive line and the defense being a complete and utter sieve. So I think it puts the Raiders up against it. But if you love the quarterback that's on the board, which is still projected to be Fernando Mendoza, then you're going to have to make that decision. We'll talk more about the draft order and the fallout from Week 18 after the break right here on SportsGrid.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, look at he's angry. He wants to play. Doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there. Like, I don't know why he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like, a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry? The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Okay, with you right here on Pro Football Today. Still plenty for us to get to. We talked a little bit about the first three head coach firings. Joe, the most recent of the bunch would be Jonathan Gannon out in Arizona. It is, I think, one of the sneakiest, awful teams in recent memory. What do I mean by that? The Arizona Cardinals lost as many games as the Vegas Raiders, picking first overall. Arizona started the season 2-0 and 3-5. And I know 3-5 is not necessarily, something to write home about. That third victory was a double-digit win in Dallas off a bye. We thought, hey, maybe there's something here. This group went out and lost their final 9 games. And I guess despite that, it was all Jacoby Brissett. I know the defense was bad. I've never thought Jonathan Gannon was working with, pocket aces in Arizona. They made the move to get rid of Jonathan Gannon. What do you make of that decision?
I thought it was good. Now, I'll say this.
Do you like any coach in the league? No, fair enough.
Hang on. This is coming from a guy that backed Arizona to potentially win the West at plus 420, and they started out at 2-0. So I was all bought in to Jonathan Gannon in Arizona at the start of the year. I was wrong on my assessment because when they finished the year at 8-9, had an opportunity to win and sneak into the playoffs last year and lost the Carolina game, you thought they would be motivated. You thought that everything was set to potentially make that type of run. And they had the pieces. Marvin Harrison Jr. in year number 2, Trey McBride, one of the top tight ends in the NFL, 1,000-yard receiver. They had James Conner. And I understand the injuries. I get that. But there was defensive talent, too, in Walter Nolan. And I know he checked out with an injury just about 3 weeks ago. I get all of that. But there was no defensive progression. This team allowed chunks of yards to a number of different teams. Their offense in games outside of Jacoby Brissett throwing it 50 times couldn't coach up the offensive line to run the football consistently. They were one of the worst rushing attacks in the NFL, and that wasn't due to James Conner just being out of that lineup. The offensive line was completely terrible, and the play calling was as well. So when you couple all of that and you say we have young talent that the head coach isn't getting through to, yeah, he deserves to be chopped, especially when you lose 9 games down the stretch. So, again, you have a franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray that they made a decision to move on from.
Right.
You have that to worry about. What are you going to do? And this head coach looks clueless throughout the regular season. And let's not forget, you want to throw in the DeMarcado situation. Maybe he wasn't a locker room guy. But again, at the end of the day, where is the positives? The negatives outweigh all the pluses for this football team. You can't win 3 games with this talent, Kev. You
But
just
see,
can't.
Joe, they were the most injured team in football for the final month. You say this talent. You say this talent. What are we referring to? Okay.
Okay. Well.
No, because seriously, because Will Johnson and Walter Nolan are rookies. And by the way, I know Walter Nolan ended up injured. Trey McBride obviously broke out, but that's wasn't a first-round draft choice. Marvin Harrison Jr. has not worked out. They were able to get Michael Wilson to break out for this team. Who are the superstars that I'm supposed to be banking on here for Jonathan Gannon to win football games with?
Well, we're making it sound, Kev, like we're starting Russell Wilson or we're starting
Jacoby
talent.
Brissett, Joe.
Okay, but Jacoby Brissett, again, Kev, at the end of the day, threw the football and they were able to move it. The defense gave up tons of yards. Tons. They were abused week in and week out. And we're going to attest that to a ton of injuries? It's just all injuries.
Yeah, a ton of injuries and not a lot of talent. I'm sorry. I do not think that Arizona has entered into any of these Jonathan Gannon seasons where, I mean, Joe, we look at the rest of the NFC West, right?
Yeah.
And they put 3 teams into the postseason. The gap in what those teams have, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Seattle, talent-wise, is massive to me.
Okay, so let's just look at the wide receivers. Outside of JSN, who does Seattle have as a pure number 2? Is Barner?
Who cares? They got the guy who led the league in receiving yards.
Okay,
JSN's one of the 5 best receivers in football.
So, okay, all right. And Trey McBride is a 1,000-yard receiver at the tight end
Okay,
position.
Joe, but what else does Seattle have? One of the most talented defenses in football.
Was a number 1 draft pick for them. He was
they got the pick wrong. It's hard to argue they didn't get the pick wrong. Did they not get the pick wrong?
You
thought they got the pick wrong in real time. You thought it should have been Malik Neighbors.
Well, I like Neighbors, but that doesn't take away that Marvin Harrison wasn't valued or looked at as a pure number 1. He was. I just like Neighbors more. But you're telling me 600 yards?
Joe, but what about the defensive talent, though? What about he's a defensive guy.
Yeah, I like Will Johnson. I like Walter Nolan.
Those are rookies. These guys are supposed to turn this whole thing around. That and bringing Josh Sweat in from Philadelphia. Look at what
the thing, Kev. They've regressed. They have regressed from where they were last year. They started out 2-0 and they fell off a cliff. They have no defensive identity. Their offense dealt with injuries, and they didn't game plan.
Is this a good job?
Games. Yes, I think so. Why wouldn't it be?
We don't even know who's the quarterback.
What's a good job in the NFL? Are we saying Tennessee is a good job? Are
Giants
we saying
job?
Las Vegas? Okay, Giants is a good job. Is Cleveland? It's all better. Arizona's all better than Tennessee, better than Las Vegas, better than Cleveland.
I'd like the Vegas job if I could get on the same wavelength as Brady and Spytek.
Well, what is it? Yeah, but what is the wavelength? Tell me what that is.
Let's take a deep breath and trade Max Crosby. Is the same wavelength that I want to be on.
Genty, you know what?
No, I didn't say that. Well, I'd like to jump in a time machine and not draft Genty. Knew that wasn't going to work out right away. You knew it wasn't going to work out.
Right. That was a Pete Carroll decision. I want to run it, 50 yards of granite, Marshawn Lynch 2.0. That we knew that wasn't going to work.
Quickly, because we're going to get into the playoff games next. Culture keeping Steichen. Bengals are going to keep Zach Taylor. Surprised by either one of those?
Zach Taylor, I'm shocked by. Again, I know Burrow likes him. But again, back-to-back years when this team, and I understand the injuries, I get all that, but it's the same MO. Is it going to change any other year with Zach Taylor? They're starting to regress year after year after year. When do you stop the bleeding in Cincinnati?
Yeah, for me, and this is just all, in-house. Shame to see the Colts smartly keep Shane Steichen. Obviously a really good coach. You'd love for him to come in and salvage things in Philadelphia with the clown operation we're dealing with. Let's preview some wild card action next.
Crosby has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, you look at he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there. Like, I don't know why he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like, a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, yeah, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry? The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi. Joe, we are able to take a look at the lines here for Wildcard Weekend. We're just going to go quick, go through them all, see what's jumping out. We begin in Carolina. 10.5-point road favorite. I am sure that is some type of history. It just has to be with the Rams laying this type of number here to an 8-9 Panthers team who has beaten them already this season.
At the same number, in the same place.
Yep.
It's exactly the same line as their first meeting, in late November that they lost that game? And again, we thought it was an early kick for LA. They had just went through a gauntlet. It was a potential letdown spot, and they lost the game outright. There's no way they could have, the same type of situation or outcome in this type of environment. I'll say this. Look, Carolina looked pathetic offensively for much of the game against Tampa Bay. I'll probably wind up taking the 10.5, though, and give me the over 46.
Yeah, all right. They're already giving you full card. We'll just play this back over the weekend. I think the early thing for me is I am a little surprised that the number is not shorter because it is the same number, because it is a playoff game, because Carolina won. I think you were seeing the Panthers lost to the Bucs, getting routed by Seattle prior, really weighing heavy here on this number. It does make the double-digit spread a bit interesting. Pick -1 here, +1 there. Bears, Packers in Chicago, the 2-7, Joe. What stands out?
The line, 1.5 for Green Bay. I mean, Green Bay has not looked good down the stretch. I understand injuries. But this is a LaFleur spot, right? This is where you give the edge LaFleur potentially over Ben Johnson. This is another rematch. We saw this game play out, go to overtime in this type of setting, laying 1.5. It is intriguing that they're not making it at least a pick or have Chicago as a slight favorite. I understand they lost to Detroit, an arch rival, former head coach, and obviously, staff members, but that line looks that is a shocking line to me for a number of different reasons. I would assume that, to me, I would make Chicago favorite, and I understand that they lost back-to-back games, but I have not liked what I've seen out of Green Bay right now.
So I am right now very interested in the Green Bay Packers. I think sometimes the way their season closed out, I think could work out. A lot of rest for a lot of key guys that were injured. Josh Jacobs, Christian Watson, Jordan Love, Zach Tom. This is a team, Joe, who's not played, a beat-em-up, bruised-up football game since they last played Chicago, right? Late in December. So I just think that is a little...
Kev. That's good and bad. You're talking about a quarterback to wide receiver relationship. I hope if you're Matt LaFleur, they're clicking on all cylinders early, because if it's going to take 2 or 3 quarters to get the ring rust off, could be a long day.
I hear you in that respect. Sunday begins in Jacksonville with Buffalo as a 1.5-point favorite here, Joe. Home field advantage not being given a lot of love in these early slates.
No, I give the inside edge right now to Jacksonville. Again, they're playing with house money. That offense is clicking on all cylinders. I know it's Josh Allen, but it scares me, this matchup for Buffalo.
From a number perspective, they were, I don't think, ever going to be able to put a plus number next to the Buffalo Bills. I don't find the Jags to be a great matchup, though, for Buffalo. Eagles-Niners, it's a line that's climbing up to 4.5 now. How healthy will San Fran be? Eagles did take the bye, and are at home here, Joe.
This is a step-up spot. Assert your dominance and showcase you're the best team in the NFL. I'm expecting a beatdown. There's only one side I could look, and it's the Eagles.
What do you think about Chargers-Pats field goal and a half number favoring New England?
This is a perfect opportunity for Justin Herbert to get his first playoff win. He has the experience. I know Vrabel and this team are peaking, but this is a Harbaugh spot. The better Harbaugh spot.
Steelers-Texans in potentially, Joe, Aaron Rodgers' final NFL game. This lines up to 3.5 for Houston.
Yeah, that's way too many points. I'm sorry. This is gonna be a potential spot where D'Amico Ryans is gonna get burned. I'm just telling you. Hey, we have to score 24 to win this game.
Another guy that Lisi will be soon putting on the hot seat. I am sure. It is going to be a fun Wildcard Weekend, and Joe and I, of course, will be helping you guys get set up for it the entire way. It is pro football today, and it is, of course, right here on SportsGrid. For Joe Lisi, I'm Kevin Walsh. We'll see you guys next time.
Has now left the team, by the way. He's pissed. Anyway, look at he's angry. He wants to play. He doesn't like what they're doing here. There's all sort of speculation.
This might be the final straw, George, for him there.
Like,
I don't know why he stays. Yeah, I know. The thing is, he's got a Raider freaking tattoo. Like, the guy loves the Raiders. Like, he really does love playing for the Raiders. But and now, like you said, he's not happy about this.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Sometimes those coaches do get the axe regardless of what the owner said just a few short weeks ago. And sometimes, Joe, you can't have it both ways. Like a Jets fan, you probably want them to tank. They're doing a really good job of that by not even being competitive at this point. But at the same time, you sort of want it to be, we're not competitive winning games, but it looks like we have a future. We might have found our quarterback. We got a good foundation. Nothing is going right.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It's going to open up Pandora's box. But I will say this. I do believe players that sign now, like Najee, should not be eligible now, but should have to sit out and come back in next year. It's just a slippery slope. And I agree with people like Tom Izzo. I don't like it at all.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
LeBron James gets that news today. What is today?
Today's his birthday.
Oh, I'm sorry? The greatest birthday gift that LeBron James has ever gotten is the reality, the smack in the face that he's no longer an all-star.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.